Well, before I start, let me thank you so much for joining me tonight. It's really, really great to have you all here. As we've already discussed, some of you have had a long day, so I'm really honoured that you're taking the time to listen to this tonight. Today, in this webinar, we're going to explore how you can learn quicker, with less stress, speak more confidently and fluently, and achieve the goals that best serve you. In other words, we're going to learn how to learn, transform, speak, and grow. So the next question really is, who can this help? Well, it could be you if you can relate to the following. Does any of this look familiar to you? Are you busy and sometimes burned out, stressed or tired? Do you want to speak English confidently for business? Do you want to give presentations, public speeches or training which really works well? Or do you want to define your wants and achieve your goals? Well, if you can answer yes to any of those, then you're in the right place. Now, my name is Sydney Thompson, and I've designed this program with Dr. Yvonne Thompson, who you can see in the middle of this picture here. Now, Dr. Thompson has 40 years of business communication experience in London, including opening the first legally owned black radio station, Choice FM. She's talked to countless amounts of organisations, including the Metropolitan Police, Microsoft, and the British Army. And she's also given speeches at the United Nations, to the British government and to the European Union. So she really is an expert. So my expertise comes from working with over 100 different companies offering business training services. And here's me teaching just last week in Germany, where in this session, I was actually teaching a group of project managers and software developers, and they're responsible for operating nuclear power plants. So their English communication skills really are necessary. But before I started teaching business English, I actually worked in the British media industry. So it was always around English. And here, as you can see, I worked for the Guardian newspaper, and I was actually an assistant on the home news desk. So what I would do is correct all the journalists, artists that came in before they went out. So English training has always been, and English has always been a passion of mine. And I've been training at countless companies and for years now. Now, when I first started, what I really loved to do was teach English grammar and deconstruct the language and offer it back to people. And that worked really well for some of my clients some of the time. But what started to happen was this. I saw that some learned really quickly and really well, while others just weren't getting it. And that really bothered me. You know, I had factory workers who were learning really quickly and scientists who were becoming frustrated with their learning development. So I had to sort of sit back and look at why that was. And what it all boils down to is this. It doesn't matter what you try to learn as an adult, you can do it in a very short amount of time if all the factors are in the right place. But here's the problem. If you go into a learning environment with stress and fear, then you have a lot to carry, and that will slow you right down. Now, actually, this is what a lot of language schools really want. And also, you know, people who are training people to speak in public and give presentations. They want you and as many other people as possible to learn as slowly as possible so that they can take your money over a long period of time. Now, I actually worked for 4 different language schools, and I became really uncomfortable at the way that they trained people in English. You know, by trying to earn more money, they were actually slowing people down, and these people were actually blaming themselves for their slow development. Author Mel Gibbons talked about it really well when she describes what is called the competence confidence loop. And what this basically means is, the more you do something, the more confident you get, the stronger you feel about it, right? I mean, that's clear. And that makes you more successful, and then you do it more and get even better at it. But here's the problem. It works the other way around. There is also the fear and failure loop. And this basically means the less you succeed when you're trying to do something, the more afraid you are to try it again. And I've seen this with so many of my customers. I mean, maybe you've experienced this. They are actually afraid to go into business meetings or to stand up and talk in front of an audience because of bad experiences they've had in the past. And what Mel Gibbons says about this is confidence is a skill you build through action. That means in order to speak more confidently, you have to improve your speaking through speaking. And if any of you are non-native speakers, you'll know this, that if you sit in a group training course, you're not really going to get much practice. You might speak 5 to 15 minutes per week without any personalized support feedback. And that's just not enough to help you improve quickly in an effective way. You know, for example, you don't go to the gym, work out once per month and expect to look like this, right? No. We need to train on a regular basis to get strong at something. And here's a really key point. The learning environment has to be in an enjoyable, relaxed one. I had the same experience when I came to Germany. I learned academically, and it was good for a while, but after a certain point, it didn't help anymore because I had the knowledge, but I actually needed to speak, not just learn to speak, to be more fluent. Und ja, heutzutage, obwohl mein Deutsch nicht perfekt ist, kann ich auf jeden Fall fließend sprechen. For those of you who are not German, what I just said is, nowadays, even though I don't speak the language perfectly, I do speak it fluently. This is a really common experience with learning anything, not just learning languages or learning to speak in public. I call it the obstacle as a learning ceiling. It feels like you've traveled a really long way, but at some point you go as far as you can go. And usually because your fears and stress are holding you back and you're trying to stay in a comfort zone. Author Josh Kaufman says it perfectly in his book, The First 20 Hours, when he says, the major and actually the biggest barrier to skill acquisition is not intellectual, it's actually emotional. Until you deal, you won't heal. So what does that actually mean? Well, we can go and try and learn a skill, right? And we can do that for hours and hours and hours. But you have to actually work on the negative charge and the negative experiences that you're bringing with you into the learning environment before you can actually learn fluently and comfortably. Now, we talk about stress all the time, right? But actually, it's a really important factor in successful learning. And there are 4 kinds of stresses that can really influence and impact the way you learn. The first one is acute stress. And this is the stress that you feel on a dark night with a mugger running towards you with a knife. And some people actually feel this when they're trying to use new skills that they're learning. I mean, I had a human resources manager as a client who works a lot with people in Malaysia, India, and the Czech Republic now. At the beginning, she was actually shaking with nerves before she went into a conference call. That's not a good place to be. The next kind of stress is something, again, we all experience, and it's what you call the chronic stress. This is the everyday stress. It's the overworked, underpaid, and totally annoyed by your children who won't listen to you stress. And we're not even always aware of it, but when we take it into the learning environment with us, it really does affect your belief in yourself and your ability to perform. Now, the next kind of stress is actually a positive one. It's what you call eustress, and that's that big boost of energy you get when you're trying something hard or new for the first time, or just trying to expand your skills. It's a level of discomfort, but it's actually a really good place to be because you know that at the end of it, you're going to achieve a successful result. So this is not a stress we want to eliminate, but it's something we want to learn how to work with. And the last stress is unfortunately one that you just cannot avoid, and that's distress. We all have it. It's divorce and death in the families. And this, does affect how we perform on a daily basis. However, when you learn how to deal with all of these and also learn how to use them to your benefit, then you've aced it. And for anyone who's not a native speaker, that means you're successful. So let's have a little quick look at where these daily inputs of stress are coming from. Well, I don't really need to read you this list because you all know it. It's the money pressure, and it's the job, and it's health worries, and it's relationships, poor nutrition, and media overload. I mean, particularly today, we have got information coming from absolutely everywhere, and that's distracting. And then the last one, which I know very well with my children climbing into bed with me at 4 o'clock in the morning, it's sleep deprivation. Now, these are all things we all know about, but we have to deal with them before we try to learn. And, learning is imperative. It's a must in today's world. When we reduce the impact of these stress, we get, in the learning environment at least, we get much better results. But when we do nothing about them, we end up with what Hale Dwoskin perfectly describes as, if you're not achieving, you probably have your feet on the brakes and the gas pedal of your car at the same time. And what this means is you're, consciously trying to change and trying to produce new results. But at the same time, you're trying to stay in your comfort zone and avoid pain. It's something like a monkey swinging in a jungle. You've got one hand on a branch trying to move forward, but you still got your hand on the last branch trying to stay in a safe place. And you end up stuck in a place where you can't develop your skills in the right way. Now, after almost 20 years of experience, I just don't want to be part of that vicious cycle for my customers anymore. I want to be involved in helping you move forward and getting more impact. And that's exactly why I designed the Speak and Grow system. This is where it started for me. Life was great. And my German wasn't fantastic, but I was still earning great money doing business English training in Germany with big contracts, teaching sometimes up to 500 people in international companies. And it was all wonderful. But I was working 7 days a week. I wasn't paying attention to my health. I wasn't really thinking about levels of stress. And then, of course, life happened. And the proverbial excrement hit the fan. And I ended up feeling like the woman you see on the screen. Within a very short amount of time, I had a tumor the size of a golf ball, an ovarian tumor. I was in hospital for 3 months. My father-in-law died of cancer. I was told I wouldn't have children and then promptly got pregnant 2 times. I didn't have anyone to do any babysitting, so I couldn't work. And, of course, I was in a really bad place. So I got to a point where I had to do something about it. So I searched around and started to look at different options and what I could actually do to improve my life. What I found was so many different types of self-development tools. And I took what I needed from each one and finally got to the point where I found what works absolutely well for me. And I feel great every day. These are my motivation, my 2 little angels, who are, yes, also the grandchildren of Dr. Yvonne Thompson, CBE. And, they were my motivation for moving forward. But through having to move forward, I found some amazing tools. And what I started to do was actually implement these tools into my training. I mean, it was Brian Tracy that said, personal development is a major time saver. The better you become, the less time it takes to achieve your goals. And that has been so true for me and for what I've been able to do with my clients. I mean, when you take some of the cutting edge technology from personal and professional development tools out there, and you mix it with speaking training or business English training, the effects are phenomenal. You get results so much quicker, and that was so important to me. So what I do is, yeah, I still do lots of business English training. I still give people everything I can and lots of grammar, but I also use all of these different tools to create much quicker and more effective results. So let me tell you about the kind of results that my training, the Speak and Grow system, has actually been able to produce. This system actually reduces stress to improve the learning impact as you're actually learning. It also increases fluency because there is intensive practice and feedback. So whether you're a native speaker learning to speak more confidently, or you're a non-native speaker learning to speak more fluently, you get so much of that with instant feedback through this system. And you're able to identify and grow your strengths, because learning well is not just about the content you're learning, it's also about what you're bringing into the learning environment. And that's why the Speak and Grow system is so effective. What it does is it eliminates limiting beliefs, so that you're not like the monkey on the tree swinging back and forth, but you're actually moving forward step by step at a pace that works well for you, and reducing weaknesses at the same time. The situation is this: if you're in a learning environment and you're feeling stressed, you are just not going to perform as well. This is where you start to feel distressed. So the Speak and Grow system increases your calm to the point where you get to the OI stress, the positive stress that is actually fuel for your development. And we reduce the distress that you feel in that environment. The feeling of, I can't, and I'm not sure, and am I good enough? That's all gone with this system. And that's why we get such great results. The system itself works like this. We focus on your business English development, and also if you're a native speaker, your development as a public speaker or a presenter. But we also focus on all the limiting beliefs that come up in 24 different areas of your life. Now, the great thing about this system is that you can choose what's relevant for you. You do not have to choose all of these, but as we work through things, you might find, oh yeah, that could be useful, or that might work for me. And we'll go through each of those and work through them until those limiting beliefs are just reduced and you're actually moving forward more fluently and more comfortably. Now, the way that we work through it is by discussing 4 key questions. We ask you, what are your beliefs? What do you believe about what it is you're trying to achieve? And that's the positive beliefs and also the negative beliefs, and that highlights and brings up some of the limiting beliefs that we can work on for you. We also ask what you really want. Now, this is so key because we look at something called the culture scape. And that is not just what do you think you want, but what have you been taught to want through outside influences, whether it be parents, bosses, media, the culture you're in, religion. And we go as deep into that as you are comfortable to do, because that really gets to the core of what it is you want. Then we ask you another key question, which is, if you achieve this goal, what will you gain by achieving it, and what will you lose by not achieving it? And that brings up so much motivation for moving forward. And then the last key question is, what do you actually need to do to get it? Now, the system itself has so many really useful elements, and we'll talk about that a bit later. But let me just remind you of who the system has already helped, because I've worked with some huge international companies and they just wouldn't pay me the kind of money that they've been paying me unless they were getting great results with this system. I protect the privacy of my clients, so I'm not actually going to show you some names. If you decide to use this training, then of course I'd be more than happy to show you some originals. But for now, here are just some of the comments from some of my clients. A software project manager from Deutsche Post said it was a huge support during restructuring. It helped with sensitive global communication for offshore outsourcing projects. Now, this guy was seriously stressed and under a lot of pressure trying to support his team. So he really needed that full personalized support. And it was urgent, you know, he was going into constant meetings. So it's just such a pleasure to get such great results with him. An HR manager from Goldwell talked about how it expanded her knowledge and helped her to remember what she'd forgotten, and also to develop new skills that she needed to do her work. A lab assistant from Merck talked about the confidence that they gained in conference calls and meetings, and just having so much less stress and nervousness. And this is really the key point of what we're trying to do with the Speak and Grow system. So it was just a pleasure to work with her. And you can see here that at the Fraunhofer Institute, which is a huge research institute in Germany, a project coordinator talked about how much secure she felt in her daily work. I mean, this woman was under so much pressure to be constantly communicating in English. So again, really great to have helped her. So those are some of the benefits and the results that they got. But what I'd really like to do now is talk about what you'll get if you decide to use this system for yourself. The system includes 60 minutes per week of one-to-one live coaching. Now, this is online coaching and it's very intensive. You'll be speaking non-stop, and yeah, we'll focus on the skills you want to acquire. But when you come up to those blockages, when you come up to areas where you can't seem to move forward, we'll be working through the Speak and Grow system to help bring you forward so much quicker. On top of that, you'll be working with only qualified native speaking experts. So, of course, there's me, but we also have some other people in our team who come from different areas of expertise. And I would prefer to work with all of anybody who decides to work with me tonight. But if we decide and you decide that you need different kinds of skills, we have a team that we can put you together with. Now, this is also an interesting point. We record each session if you want it at no extra charge, which means you can take that session and go away and use it to review. And you can also use it to see how far you've come in such a short time. So there are weekly training notes per email, and there's one monthly free business English webinar. Now, this focuses specifically on skills and on grammar and all the other bits that might be a good boost to your language and your communication. And now this is the kicker. We give you editorial support as soon as you start your training. And what this means is, if you're generating communication in English, we will help you to correct it and to improve it in real time. So your presentations, your emails and your documents, you can send them to us and we can give you suggestions for improvement straight away. I don't know of any other language school that does that. And I certainly know that this has been a really big help for very important documents. Now, of course, if you send us a 125-page document, we're not going to be able to help you fix that in 1 week, but we can definitely give you suggestions and tips and tricks. And what we will do is, once we identify what works best for you, we will start to do research for you about information and resources that can help you to achieve your training goals and also any other goals you have as soon as possible. Now, this is another interesting point, particularly for non-native speakers. There is optional socializing with native speakers, and that is so useful for getting you used to speaking English in all kinds of different situations. It's only optional, but we've seen it get really good results for people. So I know that there may be some questions coming up, And as soon as the presentation's finished, I'd be more than happy to go through them. So that's pretty much what the system is about. It just boosts your learning and your professional and personal development all at the same time. And you're getting administrative and editorial support with your work as well. And that's not just from me, that's also from a whole team of experts, including Dr. Yvonne Thompson, CBU, who is just incredible. I mean, she's written books on the subject, and she has so much to offer. Now, this training is usually worth a lot of money. I mean, if you can combine the personal and professional development, the administrative support, and the business English training or public speaking training, there's just so much there. But just in this seminar, and particularly because you've invested your time and energy today, we've got a really amazing offer for you. Training is usually worth €400, but we are going to just today offer you a 40% discount. So we're going to give you a 1-month trial at only €250, and that will give you a really good chance to see if it's right for you, if it helps you as much as we've said it has. It's an unbeatable offer. Now, it is a limited offer because it's just not the something I can offer to everybody, and I've already trained hundreds of people for a lot more, but I think this is something we can really benefit you with. Now, if you find that, you would prefer to actually do something different, then we've got another option for you. We could also give you 3 months at a 20% discount. And if you choose the longer trial, if you are not completely happy with the kind of results we could give, there is a 14-day money-back guarantee. And that means that you're trying the 3-month trial at absolutely no risk. We really can't offer more. The whole point of this whole system for me is that, as I said, after years of watching people, suffer and struggle through learning, I just found a way to get it done so much quicker and give people so much more confidence, right? And I'm offering it to you now. So you should be able to see that the offers are up now. I'll just start that offer for you. And that's going to be up until the end of this webinar. You have the option, a 1-month trial of the whole Speak and Grow system, including the live training weekly, including the editorial support and the personal and professional development, the weekly email training notes, the optional recorded video. You've got all of those incredible features in that 1-month trial, or you can have the 3-month offer with a 20% discount, and in that 3-month offer you will have an option of a 14-day money-back guarantee if you're not completely happy with that. So what I'd like to do now is move over now and just check and see. Please let me know if you cannot see the offer. Okay, hopefully that should be up now. Please let me know. Oh, fantastic. Dana says she can see it now. Is that the same for everybody? Wonderful, thank you. Okay, so great, excellent. So what I'd like to do now is just give you a chance to let me know any questions you have, and if there's any other information I can give you. So Dana's asking if this applies to any languages. So there are actually 3 different areas here. There's the business English training, and then there's German English training for beginners. And then the third option is the native speakers. So there's actually training to get over your fear of speaking in public, to make you feel more confident and competent. So there are 3 different options, and it's all based around the English speaking language. Joanna is asking how old the Speak and Grow system is. Well, the elements of the Speak and Grow system that we now use have been around for over 10 years. And I've actually been calling it the Speak and Grow system for a couple of years now. But what I've been doing is I haven't been offering it to the general public. I've only been using it in company with the companies that I showed you. And this is the first time that I'm taking it and offering it to the general public. Hopefully that answers that question, Joanna. But as I say, I've been using this. I've been training for almost 20 years, and I've been using this system as it is for over 10 years now. Any other questions there? Anything else coming up? Sorry, is it only online? Dana Thompson's asking. So I'm based in Germany. We do have trainers in London as well. But for this offer, this is an online service. Any other questions? As I said, there's 24 modules, and if you were to cover all of the 24 modules as quickly as possible, it could be a 1-year training. But as I say, we personalize it according to your needs, what works best for you. We go as quickly or as slowly as you need. Thank you for joining us, Shashi, I think. Please feel free to reconnect again. And for those of you who are still here, if you have any questions after this webinar is finished, please feel free to send them through to info@speakstrom.com, and I'd be more than happy to continue with you. Or if you just like to speak a little bit more about it online or on the telephone about how it would best work for you. So yeah. Diana, is there any discount for 1-year training? Well, Diana, I haven't actually given a discount for 1-year training yet. But if you said that's what you wanted, I would be more than happy to extend a discount that would reflect the fact that you're making that 1-year commitment. And please feel free, Diana. I don't know if you said, if you saw that I actually put my email address up in the chat box. I'll put it through here again. Please send me an email and I'll get in contact and we can talk more about how that would best suit your needs. Florence has just asked if I could please repeat the info address. I've just done that, Florence. I hope because of the time delay that's come up for you. So yeah, that should be up there for you now. Send me an email tonight and I will make sure that I get back to you by the latest tomorrow, and just go through any more questions that you might have. I'd be more than happy to do that at speakstrom.com, and I'd be more than happy to continue with you. Or if you just like to speak a little bit more about it online or on the telephone about how it would best work for you.